So what we're doing today is we're just going over differential equations, which is dy dx equal to fill in the blank. So the first equation we're going to do is already split up for you. The y's are all on one side and the x's are all on one side. So now you take the integral of each side. So that would be the integral of y dy, which is equal to the integral of x dx. So after you do that, you have to take the antiderivative of each side of the equation. So then you get 1/2 y squared, which is equal to 1/2 x squared plus c. And what c really stands for here is just the constant, so it's whatever the initial position of the equation was. Now, since this is the first equation that we're going to practice doing, we're not going to solve for c. So what you do is now you just simplify the equation. So then you have y squared is equal to x squared plus c. And then you take the square root of both sides. So then you have y is equal to the square root of x squared plus c. Now the reason why c doesn't change each time and it doesn't become c over 2 and then c x squared plus c over 2 down here is because c is a changing constant. So whatever that variable is at this point right here, it changes here and then it changes again because it's just another variable like x and y. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go on to the next equation. And this one, it has an initial position of y of 0 is equal to 6. So what that basically means is when we get to the part when we have to solve for c, we're going to plug in these two variables and solve for c. So now you just do, you solve the equation like you did before, except for you have to get both of the y's and x's on the same side of the equation. So you're going to divide the y over to this side of the equation. So then you have dy all over y is equal to 4x cubed dx. So now that you have them on each side of the equation, now you take the integral just like you did before. So you have the integral of dy all over y is equal to the integral of 4x cubed dx. So like before, now what you do is you take the antiderivative just to get the y's and the x's by themselves without any integrals or derivatives in there. So the antiderivative of 1 over y, natural log of the absolute value of y. And then the antiderivative of the x side of the equation is just going to be x to the 4th plus c. And remember, c is your constant. So now we're at the point where you can plug in your two initial positions, part of the equation. So then you have ln absolute value of 6 is equal to 0 to the 4th power plus c. And since 0 to the 4th power is 0, you just get the answer of c is equal to ln of the absolute value of 6. So now what you do is now you know what c is, so you plug that in to where you were before. So now that you're here, all you have to do now is simplify the equation, which some would think this gets kind of tricky, but it's really not that hard. So to get rid of all the natural logs, you raise everything to the power of e. So you have e to the ln absolute value of y, sorry, that's y, is equal to e to the x to the fourth plus ln of 6. So e to the ln of y, it's the same thing as saying y, except for you can't forget the absolute value signs. So absolute value of y is equal to 6 e x to the fourth. And what I did there, because I pulled out the 6, is you have the 6 over here, so since they're being added to each other, it's the same thing as saying e to the x to the fourth plus e to the ln of 6. So it can be done either way. So now that you have it here, you just get rid of the absolute value. So then what you would have to do is you have y is equal to plus or minus e to the x to the fourth. So now what you do with this plus or minus is you go back to your initial position. So I'm just going to scroll back up, and since our initial position, both of the values were positive, the answer is just going to be positive. So you don't even have to worry about it. So don't freak out, it's really not that bad. So we're just going to start with the initial steps. So what we're doing is we're trying to get all the y's on one side of the equation and all the x's on one side of the equation. So if you look in it that way, it's actually not that bad. So we're going to do, we still have dy over here. And since the square root of y is still over here, we're just going to divide both sides by the square root of y. So that's how the square root of y gets over there. And then you're going to do the same thing with the x value over here. So then you end up with 4 ln of x divided by x multiplied by dx. So all we did, once again, is you divided both sides of the equation by square root of y to get the y over here, and then divided everything by x to get the x over here. So now you just do the same thing as we've been doing, which is just, let me scroll down, take the integral of the square root of y, we'll just put a 1 up here this time, make it a little more interesting, to y is equal to of 4 ln of x all over x times dx. So the left side of the equation's pretty easy to find the antiderivative. Right side of the equation, you might freak out a little bit. Don't, because you always have u sub. So we're going to have u is equal to ln of x. So that means du is equal to 1 over x. And I'm just going to put these back because it would kind of take me a while to write all that back out. So this is the same on this side. And since we're subbing u in, we still have the integral of 4u du. Oh, just noticed I forgot something. There needs to be a dx over here. There we go. Now what you do is now you can take the antiderivative. So the antiderivative of 1 over the square root of y is just 2 root y. 2 root y. And then you have it equal to 4 1/2 of u, there you go, that's a u squared, plus, let's see, sorry, my handwriting is just awesome with the mouse, I'm sorry, 2 root y is equal to So basically, this is what the equation is. And now all you do is you simplify the equation. So we're just going to go over here. So you still have 2 root y is equal to 2 ln of x squared plus c. And that right there is just this simplified right here. So now we just simplify the equation. So you divide by sides by 2. So then you get square root of y is equal to ln of x squared. Sorry, squared. There, that's better too. Plus c. And then you take the square root of both sides. So then you have y is equal to the square root plus or minus the square root of ln x squared plus c. So there you go. There's the equation, and that's basically it.